Hey guys, welcome to 2.4. In this lesson, we're going to talk a little bit more about slope.
In particular, we're going to talk about parallel and perpendicular and what that means. All right, so let's get started. So parallel, often you see parallel represented with the two lines that are slanted. It's kind of like an 11 that's shifted on its axis. All right, parallel, that means the same slope. That means both lines have the same slope, which means they're going to increase or decrease at the same rate. And that means they will never, ever, ever touch. Okay, so if they're not parallel, they're going to intersect. So what's special about perpendicular? Well, perpendicular, they cross in such a way that a few things happen. First of all, it forms a right angle. It forms 90-degree angles all the way around. This is why you often see it like this, where there is an upside down T, and that's supposed to be like a modified right angle, just kind of representing that. All right, so how's that? So if parallel is same slopes, then how does the slopes compare when it's perpendicular? Well, they're the opposite reciprocals. For instance, if I have 4 as my first slope, then my new slope is going to be the opposite. So negative 1 over 4, because I flip it. I flip it and I change the sign. So you want to see that relationship. And if I bring that up again, we have 4 and the perpendicular slope is negative 1/4. If I multiply 4 times negative 1/4, you get negative 1, which is the other part of this. The product of the two slopes should give you negative 1. So that should help weed out any misconceptions. And so that's what we're going to spend our time today talking about is finding equations of lines that are both parallel and perpendicular uh, to the given information. All right, so let's get started here. Number one, it says find an equation of a line that is parallel to y equals 3x and passes through 1, negative 3. Okay, so again, my parallel slope is just going to be 3 because that's what it was before, and parallel means same slope. All right, and so I got I have y equals mx plus b, and y is going to be negative 3, slope is 3, x is 1 plus b. All right, that's going to be negative 3 equals 3 plus b. I subtract 3 from both sides, it's going to be negative 6 equals b. And so y equals 3x minus 6. And that's how that's done. Number two, it says find the equation of a line that is perpendicular to y equals 5x. Okay, and passes through this point. Okay, well, if the original slope was 5, then my perpendicular slope is going to be negative 1 over 5. All right, so that's going to be, again, if you take negative 1 over 5 and multiply it by 5, you should get negative 1, which is what we wanted. So I have y equals mx plus b here. Right, y is negative 5. M is negative 1 over 5. X is negative 1 plus b. This is going to be negative 5 equals positive 1/5. I'm going to subtract 1/5. Okay, so that's going to be, you have negative 25 over 5. And that's because I'm trying to get common denominators. That's going to be negative 26 over 5. That's b. Well, that means this is going to be y equals negative 1/5 x uh, minus 26 over 5. Now, some of you may be asking, where did the 25 come from? Well, remember, if I'm trying to get, if I have a fraction of 5 equals something over 5. Well, 5 times 5 is 25. And so that's where that comes from. So number three, passes through to negative 7 and is perpendicular to this line. Well, a perpendicular slope from this is going to be negative 2. Okay, I flip it and change the sign. So I got y equals mx plus b. You have negative 7 equals negative 2, 2 plus b. Right, you got negative 7 equals negative 4 plus b. Okay, and then add 4 to both sides. It's going to be negative 3. And so y equals negative 2x minus 3. Guys, this is literally all that we're doing. And to be comfortable with this, it just takes practice. So if you're not comfortable with it, no worries. It just takes practice. Okay, we haven't counted one like this before. Number 4, it says, the first part we're familiar with, but it says the equation of the line written in 9x minus 2y minus 5. Well, that is slope intercept form. So we need to get this in y equals form first. So this is going to be, let's see, negative 2y equals negative x, or negative 9x plus 5. Then we'll divide by 2, or negative 2, rather. This will be positive 9 over 2, x minus 5 over 2. I only care about the slope. It's parallel to this line. So the slope I'm going to use is going to be positive 9 over 2. Okay, equals mx plus b. My slope is 9 over 2. Y is 8. X is negative 8. Plus b. 8 equals negative 2, or 2 goes into 8. 4 times 9 is 36. That's going to be negative. Add 36 to both sides, you're going to get 44. Okay, so my equation is going to be 9 over 2x plus 44. Number 5. So a slight pivot. It says find the average rate of change of a function. Uh, so as we get into this, you start hearing this word function thrown around. We talked about it the other day when we are talking in relation. We were talking about functions and relations. Well, when we talk about functions, we also get this thing called function notation, which is what this f of x is. And it's the same thing as y, but as we get more and more complicated graphs and stuff like that, and using multiple graphs, multiple equations in the same graph, then uh, we start. It's helpful if we use function notation because then we can name them to distinguish one from the other. Well, this problem, average rate of change, is essentially slope. First of all, I'm going to find out what the first, if f of x is 8 of x, then I want to find out the first, I want to find out f of 0 and f of 2. And that's going to give me my first x, my x1, y1, and my x2, y2. All right, they give me the x1, x1, x2. I need to find the y2. So that's going to be 0, because 8 times 0 is 0. Let me do it this way. 8 times 0 is going to be 0. 8 times 2 is 16. So my points are going to be 0, 0, and 2, 16. So I can do slope that way. 16 minus 0, 2 minus 0, it's going to be 8. And that's what they're looking for. Again, average rate of change means slope. Okay. Function that passes through this and is perpendicular to the line, x equals 17. Okay, so x equals 17. I mentioned in the last video about positive slope, negative slope, slope that is 0, slope that is undefined. Well, if I have x equals a number, that is a vertical line, which means it has a slope of, this has a slope of undefined. Well, the perpendicular slope of that is 0, because the 0 is a 0 in the fraction went from being in the bottom to now it's in the top, which is going to make the whole thing 0. Okay, so my perpendicular slope is going to be 0. Okay, and so if x equals a number is the slope is horizontal, y equals a number is going to be 0. So this is really simple. This is going to be y equals whatever, like this is my y, so y equals 5. But it says the function, so I'm going to write this as f of x equals 5. Okay, so real quick, let me remind you, a horizontal line has two things that you need to be aware of, right? It has, its equation is x equals a number, the slope is undefined. A vertical line has an equation of y equals a number, and the slope is 0. If you know that, number 6 is like easiest problem you're going to find. All right, on number 7, it says a function that passes through negative 4, 5, and is perpendicular to the line that has an x-intercept of 2 and a y-intercept of negative 4. So I'm going to use the x and y-intercepts to find my original slope, and now I'm going to figure out. So I'm going to figure out my perpendicular slope. So my x-intercept is going to be, let's see, we got 2, 0, y-intercept 0, negative 4. And it's going to be negative 4 minus 0, 0 minus 2, negative 4 over negative 2. This is 2. So that's my original slope. My perpendicular slope is going to be negative 1 over 2. Right, and it goes through this point, negative 4, 5. So y equals mx plus b. Let's see, 5 equals negative 1 half, negative 4 b. 5 equals positive 2. Subtract 2, we get 3. Y equals negative 1 half x plus 3. Right, that's that. Hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions, please reach out. and I will see you in the next video.